artists, and welcome back to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris takes live prompts and, over the course of an hour, uses them to improvise a storyboard. Mike, thank you so much for giving me an excuse to not nervously scroll through Twitter for over an hour. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. Sounds like
Yeah.
this is going to be a welcome distraction. Hopefully, it's a welcome distraction for a lot of folks.
Well, luckily we're past Halloween, so all the scariness is behind us. What prompts do we need from our audience today?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty open to anything. I mean, we just finished one holiday, so I think probably not spooky stuff, but
Oh,
I'm always open to whatever the chat has to throw at me.
I feel like since we're past Halloween, it needs to be Christmas related now.
Well, we do have one intermediate holiday here in the States that is Thanksgiving, which
Oh,
is
that's
often
true.
often passed over quite significantly, and I think it's a great disservice to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Generally, what we look for is a character, a location, or a conflict, and you can put those directly in the chat. While we're waiting for that, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about a custom brush that you're using in Storyboard Pro?
Sure. And also we need setting. Don't forget setting.
Oh, and setting, yes.
So I've made a couple of custom brushes over the course of dealing, having Storyboard Pro 7 and working with the new brush engine. So this is one that I used quite heavily on the Race Around the Moon board that we had worked on together. Well, that I Toon Boom and myself. So it gives a nice texture line to it. I think it's really simple and easy to have. You can do really light work with it. You can do really dark work with it because it's a pressure sensitive brush. And we'll just give this guy a smile from the big book of British smiles. There's also another brush that I had done, which is something that feels akin to like a marker.
Hmm.
So
It's really good
I
for
like,
paint behind.
yeah, it's really good for the paint behind, and it's good to add like a little bit of extra texture, So if I've got this brush here, and I'm just going to delete some of this really quickly, I can, you know, make some quick little lines. Since I'm in California, I'll do the palm tree thing. And then, if I have like the sunset or whatever is a Hollywood sign or whatever, and the sun's setting because it sets this way in the west, then I can grab this marker brush and just pop in some tone. As needed.
When you make custom brushes, are you trying to replicate the look of physical media, or are you trying to do something that's specifically for the look and feel of a board you want?
Sometimes it's to mimic natural media. Sometimes it is more for just efficiency. Sometimes textured brushes, if you get a really, really big storyboard file, can add to file size. So in those cases, a lot of times, and in my professional work, I tend to keep it a little bit more toward the straight solid vectors. But if I need something that has a very artistic effect to it, then I'll go for something a little bit more of a textured brush. It all depends on the effect you're trying to achieve, right? Some styles lend themselves really well to textured brushes and texture in general, and some styles really don't. Because, like, if you're doing something that's very straight up stylized, cartoony, then you're going to want something that's a little bit more cleaner of a line, as opposed to something more detailed, more in a world that's more very filled with texture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you're building a brush, which settings do you tend to play with?
Oh, I like to play with a lot of different settings. You know what? Maybe we should just look at this brush and we'll take a look under the hood and see how it was built. So let's go to this one, which is the brush that we started out with. This is one of my different brushes. Here's the one that we were talking about. And I'll just give this a nice bigger swash so you can see it. So go to my brush settings, and here I have the circle tip and gave it a very harsh tilt for a calligraphic sort of stroke. The smoothing I left generally short or generally light in the smoothing. In the transparency, I have 0 transparency. Like, I was trying to get all the transparency out if I could help it. Just a solid black line with some fun texture on it. And then dual tip is where you really get into some of the crazier things. Put it on blend mode multiply, so they both like blend really well together. But this one is just another circle with a similar roundness and angle, but randomizing the size and angle and spacing. So it gives it that choppiness that I was looking for, that creates or gives the effect of like essentially a textured paper underneath it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks a lot like marker on maybe a thicker paper.
Yeah, it looks like it has a little bit of a bleed to it. And then this other brush here is one that I have that I've used quite a bit as well. It has a much finer texture to it. Let me just turn this up so you can see. It still has a little bit of that grittier texture when it's enlarged, but when it's smaller, it has a bit finer of a keel to it. And that one again is the circle tip, only with a little bit less, a little bit more rounded than the other one is. And then the smoothing again was set fairly low. Transparency again was set all the way up to maximums. And then this one I started playing with custom textures that I imported myself, whether it be generated from marks that I can find in nature or in natural media, or if it was just some sort of interesting blotch that I saw on the internet and just sort of grab it and turn it into a black and white JPEG and import it into using the brush. So there's so many different things you can do with the brush engine in Storyboard Pro 7. It's incredible. You can get all kinds of different effects that you wouldn't have been able to get in previous versions. And, I'm sure it's only going to get better in subsequent versions.
All right, so for a location for today's storyboard, let's go with a castle disappearing into the mist.
Ooh. Are we going like full on Ravenloft, or are we
I was playing a little bit of Curse of Strahd recently, so I'm feeling a little Castle Ravenlofty.
some Castlevania?
We could go with that.
Okay, so for any sort of misty castle, I think a low angle shot is going to be warranted here. So let's go down to this, and I think we need to start with something that's like this sort of foreground element, and we could even expand that out into a multiplane. Let's take that. The castle on the hill sort of thing with the Simon Belmont character would be like right there, right?
Yeah, perfect.
The Castlevania castle has all sorts of crazy hanging towers. And there's been some pretty cool castle designs in media. That the most recent one I can think of is the Hogwarts castle, which is rather cool. And of course, you need time to really design a castle, so we're just going to go with the most generic version of what we can consider a castle, and have maybe some battlements up here and a portcullis, of course, because you have to have that. And this is the main entrance to the castle proper, and then of course it expands out as castles often do, because you got to have a courtyard, unless you have a Disney castle, then it's just a bridge in front and a moat with like 50-year-old water in it, because it's
So
just trapped there.
it's not like painful if you fall in, but it's just kind of gross. Like there's like pond scum.
Oh, it's like duck water to the extreme.
All right, maybe like one alligator.
No alligators. No, I mean
No, none.
none whatsoever. I mean, can you imagine having an alligator? Well, unless you're in New Orleans Square, then you might get a visit from Lewis from Princess and the Frog, who I particularly liked quite a bit because working I was an intern during that movie, so Lewis was always rather fun, and I'd been working with one of the animators there, and seeing some of the stuff from Lewis was really, really neat.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that movie was very fun, and you think that these people are talented, but you don't really know the level of talent until you see it. Like you watch some of these ladies and gentlemen draw, and it it blows your mind. Just I watched Eric Goldberg draw once, and it was like watching like pencil poetry. That's the best way I can put it. So let's get this farther up on a hill.
Oh yeah.
There we go. So we got something of a design. It's not anywhere near as polished as it could be, but I think instead of like a normal like cone tower here, I think we need to put something that is almost like a watchtower of some kind. Maybe some sort of like a Eye of Sauron situation.
Oh, that's very intense.
So where you could put like some sort of crazy, bell tower ish thing up here, and then of course the larger house formations and things back here, because Okay, so we've got house on the hill. Maybe we have some sort of a curving, high up, cliffside, dangerous, with jagged peaks and rocks and crazy crap down here. So we ended up going Halloween anyway.
We did. We also got a suggestion that I think might take us in a different direction. I'm not familiar with this singer, but it's for Sia, an Australian singer-songwriter. I'm kind of curious how you would interpret an Australian singer-songwriter in Storyboard.
Really, the only dead giveaway for Australian, as opposed to some other European or American or North American person, is just accent. So really, to sell that, you would need some voiceover work. So take it away, Mike, with your best Australian accent.
Canadians aren't allowed to do impressions of Australians. We have a non-compete clause. I'm very sorry.
That is Balderdash, and you know it, sir. I have not seen any sort of strange. You know what? I think we should do this. Why don't we do this? If we're really gonna do this, I think if we have any ladies watching here, to just send us some sort of WAV file. If we can pull that off. And then, of course, this has to be sort of glowing from down here with mysterious magical energies.
How often
why am I doing that with
that?
I'm going to do it with this brush that I've been touting this whole time. Let's just lay that in with the marker brush. That way we can get it done and fast and all of that, and we'll make this nice and dark. And then if we need to, we'll just cut out some little sections of light.
Yeah. Mike, on a typical production, how often are you asked to do detailed background art?
Sometimes more often than not, sometimes not very often. I know that's a very nebulous answer, but it's the truth, and it's all about what that production needs at that time. You
Hmm.
know, sometimes we're just like, well, we've got a background that is looking awesome, so don't touch it. And then other times you'd be like, this background is not working for the scene. We need you to do an entirely different one. You know, so again, it's a lot more mundane than people like think it is. There's no hard and fast rule. It's always the rule is whatever the needs of the production dictate. You know, sometimes it's going to be, well, this needs to be overhauled. And sometimes it's like, well, we like this and this, but we don't like this and that. So let's just tweak it and, call it a day.
I think it depends is a really good answer.
It depends is a very good catch-all answer for a lot of things. We'll make some of these a little darker here too in the back. Give it an even more foreboding sort of look. So we have a setting of a castle. We have Sia, the Australian singer, who I think is just a teeny little girl, if I'm thinking of the right person. Was she the one that did that Chandelier song?
I have absolutely no idea who Sia is.
Okay, so what are we going to have Sia doing, though?
Oh, our producer Derek says that she is.
Okay, thank you, Derek, for the quick fact check. I appreciate that. All right, so we've got Castle, whether it be the Castle of Dracula or the Dread Vampire Strahd. And then we have our heroine Sia, who stands with microphone in hand, ready to sing and kick butt. So what is she going to kick butt with, though? I mean, Belmont had the whip, right?
I feel like if you're a singer-songwriter, you'd have a guitar, right?
So this is where we going like full on six-string samurai here.
I think
With
that's the only way to do it.
what kind of guitar does Sia carry? Is she like the acoustic style, or is she more? I think we've got to really go like full on metal. I think I know Sia isn't like a metal person per se, but we're just gonna say for the sake of argument or for the sake of expediency, because flying V's are kind of cool, that she is an axe wielder.
Mm.
And by
Good for
axe wielder,
two-handed, yeah.
by axe wielder, I mean, that's the common term for a guitar of this magnitude.
I'm glad this is an educational stream.
I know, really it is. We try our best to not only entertain but to educate. So here's her microphone of prodigious magical power, combined with her axe of wailing, because of course you got to wail, right? When you have an axe that is a flying V. Okay.
That's the rule. So I saw we had a suggestion in the chat from a friend of the show, Zbird Brain, for a blue kobold.
Blue kobold. Okay. Henchman. Let's make Sia a little bit bigger right here. Let's put her in this little empty pocketed space. So one of the things that a lot of people, you need to think about when you're storyboarding is negative space. And I think that gets shuffled off a little bit because we're so busy thinking about positive space that we don't stop and think about the negative space. The negative space adds opportunity and opening for clarity when we are storyboarding. So we have to get a little bit of space for Sia to operate right here in this little pocket of background.
What you
So
really want is a good silhouette too, right?
yeah, of course, you definitely want a good silhouette. So all of this, would be set against these mists. And so now we need a blue kobold follower. And he's going to have sort of a hunch and little teeny kobold horns. So I think he's going to look like this. With his sort of dragon-esque horns, but not really. And then just, a little blue dragons have those little fans that come out the back like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he doesn't have very good posture.
Now, if this is the kobold I'm thinking of, it also needs flip-flops.
Flip-flops? Okay. I mean,
Yeah, that's the thing.
I wouldn't be down. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a flip-flop here or there. What is he wearing?
I think just flip-flops and a crown from the comments.
Flip-flops and a crown. Let's we can always do one of those like floating Hellboy crowns where it's just kind of there. We don't have to deal with it as much.
I like that.
Where it's just circling on his head and nobody knows why he has it. He doesn't even know why he has it. It just is there. And it can be seen as a constant annoyance. Some scales, just because that's what they have. And I think maybe we need some sort of like heavy bag that he carries. That also
The old fantasy tote bag.
Yes. It also covers his kobold bits. I mean, we want him to be bold, but not that bold.
No, that's a very good point.
And we'll give him Chris Sanders-esque thick legs. That was one of the things in the Lilo and Stitch style guide was every character should look like they have sandbags at the bottom of their legs. They should be big and thick and meaty. So ye old tote bag.
That's a fun stylistic choice.
And then maybe he should have some kind of a small dagger. I remember one time Chris Perkins was on Critical Role, and his kobold lived for, I think it was like 10 minutes before it died.
No, I remember.
But it was such a fun, interesting performance, and he was a keeper of bees, and his weapon was a beehive that he'd swing around and hit you with.
Yeah, that was the Kobold Tinkerer, right, that he was playing?
Yeah, I think so. It was really funny.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny how he just came in, died, and walked off. He's like, see ya! Reinforced on the bottom with heavy leather stitching. Okay, cool. So we have characters. We have tail.
So we have these two characters at a scary castle. What are they doing here?
What's the purpose for them coming to this desolate, dark place? Probably here for contract negotiations.
or maybe they got lost on their way to Eurovision.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So is that where we're going with? They got lost on the way to Eurovision? What does the chat decree?
Okay, I'm seeing a few options. One is they are stealing the castle They are giving a concert. They want bubble tea.
They want bubble tea.
They want bubble tea. They demand bubble tea.
They demand bubble tea. So yeah, I think we can split the difference here. What if this is a bubble tea heist?
Hmm.
And the Lord Vampire of the castle just has the most awesome bubble tea, but one of his wickednesses is that he never shares it.
And that's why he's trapped in the land of mists.
That's why, yeah, that's why he's there. So I think we need to make this a little bit mistier too. So we're gonna get out that brush again. This is the bigger one, and we're just gonna turn it to a light gray. And on a layer just above the background layer, we're just gonna add some mistiness in the beginning, and we'll get some white in there too. Turn off that. Get some white highlights in the mist. Just give it a little once over. And then we're going to grab the opacity and just drag it down a little bit. So that way when we see it without that on, we have the mists and the mistiness that's happening. Let me back up just a little here. Okay, cool. So, bubble tea heist.
Bubble tea heist.
All right, so we need some opening dialogue. We need to see the resolute Sia and speaking to her kobold-ish companion. So
I think maybe something like, "Are you sure this is the right place?"
So in a very rough way, we have Sia right here. We have her hair just sort of, and I think this is sort of the look that she had from that one music video from Chandelier. And of
I
course,
do like the epic, like flowing in the wind. Look of determination. Oh, that's great.
yeah, I've been watching a lot of Primal lately. Getting Tartakovsky's show, and his character always has that sort of Frazetta style scowl. So we have here, and she's got her let's see, what side? So her axe comes out on her right side. So we have to just put the axe ever so slightly noted right here.
Continuity is important.
Yeah, and of course she wears, was it that like weird bodysuit? But we're gonna, what should we put on the bodysuit? The bodysuit's a little plain. We need to have something. She's got to have some sort of like cool belt, right? That can hold some of her stuff, and maybe a component pouch or that sort of a thing. Not full on Batman utility belt, but something that shows that she's prepared for what she's doing.
Yeah. I feel like what's the point of being in like a gothic fantasy campaign if you can't have a cool belt with lots of buckles on it?
I know, right? The gothic horror campaign that I am currently in, my cleric is the one that keeps all of the money because I think he's the only one that's as trustworthy to the only one that's trustworthy enough to do it and not take off with it.
Uh,
Not like we have.
I just ran. I was just playing in the first part of Curse of Strahd, a paladin who, at the very end, decided to just book it and leave his companions behind.
Hey, it happens, man.
Heat
Sometimes
of
you
the
can't.
moment.
Sometimes you can't take the fear. All right, so she's got her microphone gripped. She's ready, and then we have. We could even do one of those things where it's like the slide, where characters get revealed. So we would take, and let's just do a quick background first. We've got these crazy rock formations on the side, maybe some more just over here, and then we have the path leading downward to somewhere else. Maybe some other like crazy, spooky mountains. And again, we said no spooky, but it just keeps coming back. It just
Keeps
can't.
coming in. You know what I think you need? I think you need like a sky with 2 moons in it.
A sky with 2 moons in it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's always showing up in like fantasy settings.
yes, agreed. Because it's an easy way to differentiate that this is not Earth. It's kind of a simple way to say we're in a place that is not where you live because there's 2 moons there. And I put that on the wrong layer. So we're just going to quickly select those things that I did, all with that select by color brush, and just stick it where it belongs.
Oh,
All
we got a
right.
note in the chat that her hair should be one side black, one side blonde.
One side black, one side blonde.
Yeah.
Okay. So like a or like a Cruella de Vil sort of situation.
I think so. Now, this is also one of the things that animators really dislike when you have character designs that are different when flipped.
Yeah,
But since we're just doing a storyboard,
and that's honestly just for logistical reasons. Quite often, unless there's a real reason that it has to happen that way, then we generally tend to make life simpler for ourselves. Because then, if you like the show I'm currently working on, we have a character that only has one eye, and that particular character, anytime that we have to put him and restage the shot, we have to make sure that that eye is being tracked properly. And we have the
oh, it's on the right. It's on the right. All right.
Oh, never say our right. We always say screen right, screen left. Because that is a fixed point. Our right is always subjective. Or the character is right or whatever like that. So you always say screen right, screen left.
That's a very good note.
Because then we always know at what fixed point we are referring to. And I think that axe is probably going to be a little bit bigger. So, I mean, we're not going to track the full thing, but like here would be the spine of the guitar. So we got to put that, at least the divide, at least roughly there. And again, this is storyboard, but you still want to make sure you have some kind of accuracy. And then we're going to take Sia, and she's on the wrong layer because we're going to put Kobold behind her. We'll put her on D because she is the top thing that we're looking for. So we can also do, like, we'll just give her full on shadow right here. Take this whole part of her body and just cover it in shadows. And that's not dark enough. But again, select by color, and we get something darker. That's better. And now we have our little friend, the Kobold, coming around. Are you sure this is the right place? Really?
I kind of want this to all be in black and white except for the kobold. Hey, chat, who's inside the castle? So, Mike, in a production, how often do you get to invent characters as a storyboard artist? or in your experience, is that mostly handled in advance by character designers?
There is some opportunity here and there. It's not always a thing, but sometimes it's a thing. There's a character that I came up with for DuckTales. It was in the episode The Ballad of Duke Baloney. There was a character that, my name for him is Angus. And I don't know if that ever made it to anything official, but the character that there's a big long pan where they're fishing, and then some guy pulls up one thing, and then another guy pulls up something, and then this one at the end, he's really, really, really struggling. Then he pulls up this giant duck dude, and he's like beating on a fish, and that was Angus. So that was one that I created.
Oh, that's a good visual gag.
So it was fun to work on that. So okay, so we have Sia looking very determined. We have Kobold, and we're just gonna split that scene really quickly. And I have that set to a keyboard shortcut, so it makes it easier. And we're just gonna take that little guy, and we're just gonna push him right back here. And of course, Sia will now need to be opaqued, which is not that big of a deal. So we just, clip off what's at the bottom here, and then automat.
A great feature.
Done. Yeah, I love automat. Then if we want to, we can just sort of take out all these other things. Like, I keep telling them, like, I would love to see automat on like one of those harmony layers. That have just like the line and then the color layer. I would love to see that in Storyboard Pro. That would make things so much easier with motion. Okay, speaking of motion, let's add a little bit of motion to this. Let's grab that, and we'll get some keyframes in there. We've got one already here. It should be at the bottom. Going to turn on animation, and now there's our keyframe right there. Then we're going to go to the end of that and add another keyframe by just pushing up and down, and then we're going to go back to the beginning, pressing the home key, and then put her like this. And then we're going to animate this one as well. Starting it over here, and then end. And then that one's going to come out a little bit. So it's not a big move. Then we'll put a little background thing on that and just tweak it this way just slightly. Of course, we could do this with a 3D camera, but that's going to take longer. But it would be like a more interesting parallax. So home.
Sometimes need to cheat a little bit.
Frame. So now we have this. So shot and are you sure this is the right place? I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. It's moody.
Okay, so next thing we do, what do we got next? We have probably a shot. What's Sia's response? And of course, we're trying not to flip the 180 degree here. We're going to get a shot from the back of Sia. And Kobold is on screen left, Sia is on screen right. So Sia is going to stay on screen right here, and Kobold is going to be right here. I think we can actually get an even better shot. We can push the shot quite a bit. This makes Sia just a little bit smaller here. I'll put Kobold just like right here, a little bit more and bigger. Like, what's going on? And of course, Sia will have to be on a different layer because remember, we always try to make the layers work for us instead of against us.
Yeah. Well, in the previous panel, Sia looked very self-assured, so I feel like Sia knows where she's going.
But does Kobold know why we're here? Has Sia imparted that information? We got the axe. Got the microphone.
We've got a really good question in the chat, which is if a show or film has a very stylized look, Should the storyboards reflect that, or should they be simpler to show the information clearly?
If you're doing live action, from what I understand, I've never worked in live action myself, but I know they like to see something that's a lot more set down and clear. There's some productions that I think, especially if you're on like a harmony type production, where you know that the character model is going to be the same every time, every time, every time. You can be a little bit more loose with it. If you're doing something in a more hand-drawn arena, then it is generally a good idea to set things down really well and almost hand them, if you can, not always possible, but if you can, um, it's almost like a character layout pass in modern boards. They've essentially taken that step out of the equation.
Yeah,
Where
and what
it
we're doing
used
right
to be a
now is
huge
not
part of it.
exactly like a storyboard production process. We're not starting with thumbnails. We're really doing like one panel at a time, which is a bit, to my understanding, it's a bit unusual.
Yeah, we're just goofing around, really.
Yeah.
And then he's got a big hunch back and got little floating crown. This is essentially what would kind of be the thumbnail process, only we're thumbnailing a little more extreme. But we're gonna speed it up because okay, now this is we gotta move this kobold back a little bit because now we have a tangent ahead. A tangent here we don't want. So again, we can use a negative space to our advantage. Let's get him hunched up a bit more.
And for those of us who haven't encountered tangents before, why are those bad and why do we want to avoid them?
Because they attract your eye unduly.
Yeah.
So
So
if you
anytime
take
like a line intersects.
yeah, if you take a line right here, we're gonna take a line and we're gonna draw like a curve against it. Okay. Versus this. Or even which one do you look at first?
Yeah, it's definitely the one where the curve touches the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's you don't want to draw attention. You never want to draw attention to the making of how it's made. You always just want to draw attention to what the content is. And when you have little mistakes like that, you're drawing your eye to where, things are made and not to the story. Like it's like if you are in, watching a movie or something like that and there's just like this one little errant sound effect or something like that and it just, sours the deal for you.
Yeah. You see a zipper on the monster's suit.
Exactly. And that takes you out of it. And then you're in a position where you have to win your audience back, you know? Or you see like a crack in the makeup or something like that.
Yeah.
That
Is
it,
that a common revision in or a common note in storyboard revisions?
to take the zipper off the monster?
Yes. No. The tangents.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They weed themselves in there. And that's kind of how they should be treated, like weeds. Just you gotta take them out to, for the sake of the show. So we got jagged rocks over here and misty things. Okay, then Sia is obviously going to snap back. We have to select on the right layer, otherwise that's not going to work. All right, here's a little trick that some people, I don't know how common this is, but this is something I do in my work for quite often, is I have a part that I want to sort of stay still, and then I have a part that I want to move. So I'll just knock that down to a different color.
Mm.
And then I go back to my my black pen.
It was a bit like onion skinning.
Yeah, it's a bit like onion skinning, but like onion skinning. Yeah, onion skinning in a different sort of format. So why are we here again? You know why we're here.
This is where the path leads.
We're here for bubble tea.
Mm.
And then we need to get a little bit of change of shape on that axe, which for those of you who are into perspective drawing, good for you. For those of you who are not, get on it.
Were there any resources that helped you figure out how to draw in perspective, or was it mostly just practice?
Well, it's always going to be just practice, but I think you don't have to go all the way back to like the principles of Brunelleschi or something like that. But there are really great books that you can get on perspective. None of them really are jumping out to mind right now, but I had a really good professor at college that taught us, how to do perspective, and being on the job for almost 15 years now in animation, you get that sort of training drilled into you, like, oh, the perspective is wrong here, fix it, and you go and fix it. Okay, the perspective is working here, but not here, you pick up tricks over time. So we have Sia, and she's ready to go. And we also have a closed mouth on the Kobold, which is not going to work. So we're just going to duplicate that frame really quickly and open the mouth. Oh, picked the wrong color. But no matter. It's an easy fix. Oop, right color. We'll just keep that. So we have closed mouth, and then one little thing that you can do that sort of spice up a board or just make it a little bit more lively is just take it and drag it up a little bit, and then shift the background or shift the body. It gives it just a little bit more life. Yeah, it just gives it just a tiny bit more life to it than if you just opened the mouth by itself. And of course, if you wanted to, you can open the onion skin and like find out where the origins of whatever are, so you can, do something to it to make it a little bit more lively, like that. But a lot of modern storyboarding is just kind of taking what you've got and working with it. So especially it's great with vector drawing because you can manipulate those strokes so easily. So are you sure this is the right place? I'm sure. One other thing I will bring up also is that you try to separate actions. So I'm going to have him go back to his closed mouth pose first, and this just short thing before she turns around. That way we have, are you sure this is the place? I'm sure. Buckle up, Buttercup.
And it's sort of like having like one idea per panel.
Yeah, it's definitely one idea per panel. You don't want to have two things happening at once because, your audience can only respond to things so fast, right? You're presenting visual information. So when you're presenting visual information, you want to make it easy to understand. Communication is such a valuable asset in storyboarding that it's paramount to get that idea across. Because if you don't, then somebody's going to look at something and be like, I have no idea what's going on. And I'm sure we've all seen movies and different things where you watch it and you're just like, I can't make heads or tails of this crap. So, okay. Now we're running out of time. We only have 10 minutes left. So, are we going to cut scene?
Yeah, I think what we want to do is we want to play it full screen and just so I can use the clip.
All right, smash cut. Yes, I'm sure. So we go to the interior chamber of the vampire, or we didn't even actually say that this had to be a vampire. What's in here?
No. Baseball umpire?
A baseball umpire.
Someone mentioned a pirate, maybe a lost pirate. Someone suggested Shrek. I don't think we have the copyright cleared on that. Let's see. One of the comments is, "Goddamn, kill the dragon already. Move the story a little." Let's see. I feel like pirate kind of has a fun Scooby-Doo vibe, right? Where what's inside the haunted castle? Oh, it's Phantom Pirate.
So we have
What are you thinking?
Big bolted doors. It is not for me to do as much thinking in this. It is for the chat to come up with fun and possibly silly things. You know what? Why am I doing this the hard way? I'm just going to grab all these bolts.
Yeah.
Copy, paste, and flip.
It's not laziness, it's efficiency.
Yeah, why bust yourself when you don't have to? Okay, so we're into the chamber now. We're not going to bother with too much in the way of decoration. Of course, there's sconces on the walls and crazy stuff, and tables and different things. The ceiling obviously is vaulted and cool. And then we're actually going to take these doors, separate them out. So I'm going to copy and paste that on the D-layer. But then in the BG, I'm only going to delete this stuff. Because we still need to have that line for the door jamb. Then here, we're going to just delete. I'm going to turn on my light here. Delete that, and now we have doors on a separate layer from the background. So doors, no doors, doors, no doors. Separate layer for that, and then we're going to copy that. And these doors are going to fly open. And we're going to make a copy of that line. And this one needs to be divided. So just nip. Two lines stacked on top of one another. We can't have that. And again, whoops, wrong way to flip it.
All right. Just knock the doors down.
And whoops, we didn't copy that line, but no matter. Knock the doors down, so they should just be on the floor. All right. How about this then? This door, we are going to grab, and we're going to use the handy dandy perspective tool.
It's always a fun effect.
A little bit of cleanup here and there. And then, of course, we need to add a little bit of depth to the actual. Some special effects. And then, we don't want to make this one look exactly like the last one, but we do need a little bit of perspective here. And then we'll just turn it. holding down shift gives you a straight line. So that's always easy or great for making fast.
Yeah, objects in perspective.
Yeah. Well, just making fast straight lines. And unlike Photoshop, it doesn't constrain it to just up and down. You know, you can do anything, but if you push like Shift and Alt, then it constrains it to ups and downs. So I'm drawing diagonally, and it's only giving me a horizontal. But if just Shift by itself, you can do diagonal lines all day. But they will be
All
straight.
right, we have 5 minutes left. Do you want to give us the run through?
Okay, hold on. We just need one more thing. We need to see who. We need to see Sia standing at the door, and we're just going to take all this stuff, and we're just going to have it be noted that these go to OS.
Excellent.
And then we see Sia standing there, and the kobold is dead. Because kobolds, come on. They die all the time.
All right, roll a new character.
And there's no wind in here, so... And then Kobold is dead. He's in his own bag now because she doesn't want to leave him behind.
Dying off screen. It's so inglorious.
I know. But I mean, Kobold, what do you want? All right, so we have Sia standing there. And then let's do extreme zoom. So we have boom, and then let's go to camera view. Boom. And we're on her. It's just a little flash zoom without all the extra flashiness.
Love it.
And then just a really, really quick splice here. Come on. There we go. She says, tilt her head up a little bit. You! Where's the tea? My friend is dead. Give me the tea. Her hair is kind of wild at this point. And, you know, again, sometimes you just need to just shift and move a couple things.
Hey, vector lines.
Vector lines, bitmap effects. Sometimes a bitmap gets a little pixelated here and there, but, you know, whatevs, man. So, make with the T, and then we find the umpire. Or who are we finding again?
I'm not sure. I've seen a few other options. One is a ghost cafe. One is a chandelier outlet. I feel like for
chandelier outlet
maybe...
would feel like such a bait and switch, though.
It would. It really would. We can always leave that for the next episode.
Okay. Well, you know, we try to make these one shots as much as possible, encapsulated episodes. So what are the options? Let's run through them real quick.
Options are...
I know we're out of time, but...
a lost pirate, an umpire.
Okay, lost pirate and umpire. Let's compose this shot really quick. We have one foreground, one background. let's do the umpire will be right here, and we need the backwards hat and like the face mask thing, and we have some sort of glass or.
I like the pirate. It's a little bit Captain Crunch. Oh yeah.
And then we'll make the umpire softball umpire. Let me get a lady. And it's actually one of Sia's backup dancers. Dun dun dun.
Oh, plot twist.
We got to put the little cagey stuff in front. Somebody that's a baseball player is gonna be like, that doesn't look like an umpire helmet at all. That's all right. She's got the side braid. I don't know. That looks like a fish on the end of her head. So.
Half fish umpire. There's a Doctor Who episode about that.
I don't doubt it. And then the big pad, and then a larger glass right here. So, woo! Like, and he's got 2 teeth left.
He's been lost there for a while.
So she's got one in this hand. Foreshorten that hand. And then they both have straws. Let's have the straw going this way. And then behind them are just stores and stores of the stuff in like crazy, cool, concoctionary vials,
No one knows how bubble tea is actually made. That's a fact.
It's a very complicated process.
It's not made so much as grown.
So this is gonna be some sort of like alchemy setup with lots of wires and tubes and alembic stuff. And then we have, oh no, it's Sia. And if we had more time, we would have them like turn around. But guess what? Bam! Notes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Then we'll just take this shot right here and then copy it and then paste it in and grab this keyframe, copy that, paste that so we have the right framing, and we'll move it to where it needs to be. And so we have, oh my gosh, it's Sia. Then it's like, let's go to camera view. Think, boom, give me the bubble tea. It's Sia. And then we can go even further and have her be like, oh, delete that extra random one. Go even a more extreme close up. Be like, now. as her eyes like glow red with bubble tea fire, like Teen Wolf style.
I like it. I'm into it.
And then get like that good like anime head nod down. No. Okay, cool. All right. So Sia is actually really the lord of this castle, and these two have been usurping for years and just stepping inside. During all that time when the kobold died and all that other story we didn't get to, she realized that she was actually a vampire.
So
surprise!
The real lord of your castle was inside you all along. So that's all the time we have for today, Mike. Do you have any projects that you would like to plug?
Well, actually, yes. They're streaming on YouTube right now. Is a show. If you're really interested in cartoon making, if you go to Wacom's YouTube page, so youtube.com/Wacom, there is a playlist that you can have for a reality miniseries that we did in association with Tim Boom called Cartoon Crunch. So go check that out, and you can watch me and some friends and 8 students that we found across North and South America, and we put them together in teams of 2 based on time zone, and then how to make an animated short in 1 week. So there's parts talking about story, talking about design, talking about animation, and there's some really great information in there. So give it a look-see, and yeah, we really had a lot of fun making it.
All right, Mike, thank you again for joining us today on a special Tuesday stream. On a regular stream this Thursday, we'll be interviewing Lisa Desia about the character rigs that she built for a student film called Beep and Tweet. You can find a link to that student film at blog.toonboom.com. You can also see it featured in our community reel, and it was made using master controllers in Toon Boom Harmony Premium. Lisa is a fantastic 2D build artist, and you won't want to miss the interview. Until next time.
Bye, everybody.